cue all the laughing emojis here because honestly, you know, sister didn't take with idiot. Mr. Mackenzie, we're no idiot. So this is the third week in a row that the minister is telling me exactly the same thing. So I want to know if the government is actually working with the opposition in the relief effort. So those are the questions you're going to be hearing asked here. Also, the question I ask every single time, why hasn't the government set up a national independent oversight committee to watch the relief effort? What were the answers this time around? I'm Dion Jackson Miller. Stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for joining me. Time for tea.
First of all, I understand how busy the Prime Minister is. Clearly, he can't visit everywhere, but he has visited some areas. Can you explain why it took the PM 2 weeks to visit the worst affected communities in eastern Westmoreland, and then seemingly only because a bunch of Caribbean Prime Ministers were visiting? Second question, Commander Gale speaking at the PAAC last week when asked about relief work and how MPs didn't know when relief teams would be visiting their constituencies, explained the process and said what happens is that they contact the parish disaster coordinators before going in. Can you explain why relief teams wouldn't be not just notifying the relevant MPs, but also having them as an integral part of their relief team? And why is the relief effort seemingly so centralized and not community-based? 3 opposition leaders said yesterday at a presser that the opposition hasn't been invited to sit on any committees dealing with the relief work. Can you say if this is so? If it's not true, can you say what committees they've been invited to be on? And if it is true, why is it that that is the case? And fourthly, at this point, it seems clear the government doesn't have any intention of convening an independent oversight committee, despite your previous assurances at previous press briefings. Can you say why that is? And for clarity, the real-time audit being done by the Auditor General, very, very important, but can't be a substitute for that. And in relation to your own portfolio, Minister, obviously very important to get the schools back, but we've been getting complaints that some residents, especially in Westmoreland, feel they're being pressured. Got a report yesterday that teachers have been visiting and pressuring people to leave, and they feel when they don't feel they have somewhere safe to go to. Yeah. I'll stop there.
All right, thank you very much. That East Westmoreland question was the same exact question I got in the Senate on Friday by one of the opposition members. They said the same thing. Why didn't the Prime Minister go to East Westmoreland? Why it took him so long to go there? And I had to show in the Senate a video of the Prime Minister in Westmoreland 48 hours after the hurricane. So I'll do that one, and I know Minister Mackenzie is going to take some other ones. I think it's to show the Prime Minister in Westmoreland 2 days after the hurricane, because I think there was a statement that had been made. It was 20 days that it took for him to go to Westmoreland. So I think this is showing him departing Jamaica House for Westmoreland. Oh, okay. He's clarifying now that it is New Hope that he is speaking of.
Look, I'm very, very careful with how I word these questions, right? I didn't ask why the Prime Minister hadn't visited Westmoreland. Never asked why the Prime Minister hadn't visited Eastern Westmoreland. I asked why the Prime Minister hadn't visited the worst affected areas of Eastern Westmoreland near to where the hurricane made landfall.
The opposition being on any committee, just noting that the Disaster Risk Council has the opposition on that. That is one.
So here's the thing. I've been doing a series of videos out of the information we've been getting from the meeting that the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee of Parliament had, in which I got a whole heap of information about the hurricane relief effort, all right? And I haven't even finished doing all of the videos. One of the videos I didn't get around to doing yet, though, is about this Disaster Risk Council that you just heard the minister talking about. But here's the thing. Guess how off this council meet? This council, that is supposed to be so broad-based that the opposition sits on. So the implication is, why are they complaining? They sit on the council. How often the council meet? Watch this.
council meets annually or as prescribed by Chair of Council. So they did have their meeting this year. I believe this was June.
Once per year. Cue all the laughing emojis here because honestly, you're not sitting take with idiot. We're asking about participation in the relief effort, right? And you're talking about a council which sound good and which would have sounded very good to me, except I was watching PAAC. So I know this council meets once a year. No.
In terms of the new initiatives, I have said time and again that Cabinet is looking at using the national partnership as an oversight body. We've not finalized anything yet, but that's what we've been looking at. And the National Partnership Council has the opposition on it. We have 2 representatives from the opposition. There is Senator Lambert Brown, and there is also Anthony Hilton on that committee that also has the church and the private sector on there, and academia and other trade unions are also there. So that is what we are looking at, and I will confirm once we have a final submission in Cabinet on the disaster, on the new committee, NARA, and how that committee will be overseen. Once that is done, I will come back here and give you the final decision that has been taken. But no final decision has been taken, and we believe very much in the oversight element that it has to go outside of government.
So this is the 3rd week in a row that the minister is telling me exactly the same thing. And honestly, at this stage, as I said, I do not believe that Cabinet has any real interest in setting up this independent oversight committee anytime soon. It doesn't take a month to set up a committee, especially since the minister keeps saying they're looking at using an existing structure, which is Partnership Council, which has the opposition on it, which has members of civil society on it. So why not just do it? Because they don't want to. 1 month has gone since the hurricane, all right? Relief is being handed out right and left. People are also complaining all over the place, and this is exactly why you need this National Independent Oversight Committee to look at what is going on, see if it makes sense, see if it don't make sense, and just really keep an eye on things. By the time it's in place, if it ever is, this critical first stage, the very immediate stage, will probably be over. And yes, I know the Auditor General is there doing this real-time audit, as I said. That actually does make me feel a little bit better, but it cannot take the place of what an oversight committee would be doing.
In relation to the question of the Prime Minister taking 2 weeks to visit the areas, the Prime Minister did yesterday explain that Jamaica don't have the luxury of a lot of helicopters. The Prime Minister did, within less than 48 hours, visited all the parishes that were affected. So the Prime Minister did, in fact, visited all the parishes that were affected within the first 48 hours, but a more extensive tour was done in Westmoreland because Westmoreland was the area that the hurricane entered the island.
I'm going to completely ignore the answer about how Jamaica doesn't have a whole lot of helicopters because we're talking about moving the Prime Minister of Jamaica, so, please. Secondly, the minister is, of course, ignoring again my question about the Prime Minister not having visited the worst affected areas of Eastern Westmoreland. Well, probably because they don't really have an answer.
And what the Prime Minister did by taking the team of CARICOM leaders was something good, because the Prime Minister could have gone to St. Elizabeth, he could have gone to Hanover, but we went to Westmoreland, and no one should try to put anything, any motive at all whatsoever with where the Prime Minister have visited. Okay, the Prime Minister have visited all of the affected areas. In regards to the opposition's claim, the committee that was established is a subcommittee of cabinet. So you have to be a member of the of cabinet to sit on that subcommittee.
Mr. Mackenzie, we're no idiot. Nobody would be expecting the opposition or anybody else to be sitting on a subcommittee of cabinet, because obviously the only people who can sit on a subcommittee of cabinet would have to be members of cabinet. Stop tech with idiot. The issue is and continues to be the absence of that National Independent Oversight Committee. And yes, that keeps coming up because it's a central issue here.
So this argument about not sitting on relief committees, the minister, my colleague have just outlined that based on the structure of the National Disaster Response Committee, the Prime Minister is the chairman, I am the deputy chairman, the leader of the opposition is a member of that committee. We do have meetings, and I recall having several meetings during burial that we invited the opposition spokesperson on local government. I don't want the impression to be given that the government is bypassing the opposition. There's a committee that was established in Parliament. The opposition refused to sit on that committee. The Prime Minister outlined the steps that we are taking to have an inclusive Jamaica in the process. We're just getting out of the hurricane. It is going to take some time to put the structures in place. And I would urge the media and other Jamaicans to respect the fact that the government has been working and things will come around. Everything can happen on the same day.
All right. So it starts again with this nonsense about this council that I already told you we now know only meets once a year. And then he highlights the utter ridiculousness of even referring to this council by talking about how it used to meet during burial. Burial. 2024 burial. While we are here talking about the problems caused by 2025 Melissa. You know, sister, then take with idiot. You know, something. Tom drunk, but Tom no fool. I mean a fool, I mean no say one no fool either. So listen to all of that. Take from it what you will. Alright? Gonna have to leave it there. As always, please like the video, share it with somebody who might be interested, and subscribe to the channel if you're not yet a subscriber, and click the notification bell so you know anytime I drop a new video. I'm Dion. Thank you so much for watching. Gone back to my tea.